we are now recording this webinar, and it will be available to watch on the Idaho Out of School Network website. The slide deck will also be available on our website, so don't feel like you need to take extensive notes and write down what I'm saying on here. We'll make those available for you guys. If you have trouble with your audio, you're welcome to call in on the phone. No problem. Go ahead and do that. You should be able to find that phone number down in your kind of box. I point down because it's down on mine. It might be at the top for you, but you can call in if you need to. You're welcome to ask questions at any time. You're welcome to unmute and ask them out loud. If you feel more comfortable using your chat box, you are welcome to do that. I will try to monitor the chat box as much as possible. We do use polls, and all you need to do is click your answer and click submit. If you can't use polls, your computer's blocking you, or you prefer not to click those answers, you're again welcome to use that chat box, no problem. We are using Zoom today. If this webinar gets hacked or there's inappropriate language or images appearing, we will try to shut it down as quickly as possible. Worst case scenario, we would cancel and reschedule if that's necessary. Fingers crossed it hasn't been yet, so we're just going to continue to use this platform and hope for the best. If you guys are seeing or hearing anything that I'm not, let me know. So our agenda today, we're going to go over the quality standards. Some of you guys have been with me since day one and you've gone through all of these and you're going to be like, yes, Diana, I know. But we do have some new visitors with us and I want to make sure that they understand what the quality building blocks are, and we will go through them. All right, and we'll do an overview, we'll look at the standard, we'll look at our book, we'll go through the indicators. I have combined some of the indicators just for quickness, if you will, right, brevity. We'll go do a little resource reminder that we have some. So I'm gonna start with this poll. Hold on, let me bring the poll up. Oh,
I'm gonna ask you something.
We accidentally overdid our polls, so we can't actually put the little cool poll up, so you guys will have to put it in chat. I am sorry. I'm just curious why you guys are here today, whether you're here gathering information for other people, your colleagues or employees, or whether you're here gathering information for yourself, or you're still in quarantine, you just wanted something to do, so you're visiting. All things are valid. Usually I do see an A/B. Yeah, for yourself and for others. Wonderful. Anyone here because it's quarantine? Awesome. Oh, I'm glad to see everyone here. Hopefully this information will help you a little bit. Fingers crossed, right? Good. All right. So the goals for our quality standards, if you're new here and you haven't seen these before, we're defining what quality and out of school time programming looks like. Up until last year, there were no state recognized quality standards for out of school time care in the state of Idaho. And for those of you joining us from out of state, Idaho doesn't have laws or licensing surrounding out-of-school time programming specifically. There's some childcare licensing laws that if you fall under childcare, you would need to follow, but beyond that, everything falls on the program. So I know that's sometimes surprising for out-of-state people. So we don't have anything defining quality here. So we put together something that we hope serves as a foundation for decisions and practices for all settings and all programs, whether it's a baseball program, a full-time out-of-school day program, summer programs, break programs. Hopefully these guides will help people make decisions and do best practice. We're going to establish a set of standards that support professionalism in this field. You guys are not just babysitters, right? You guys are professionals and you're doing good work, and we want this guide to help you show that you are doing good work. It's an ongoing framework. It's meant to increase quality over time and to be used over and over and over again. It's not a one-time process, right? So the building block is basically the title. Right, so today we're working on responsiveness to culture and identity. That's the building block. Then we have a standard that defines that building block, and we'll read that in a minute. And then we have the indicators, which are the actual actions you can take to meet the standard under this building block. Right, so big down to little indicators. If you're following along in our book, we are on page 12 and 13. Excuse me. So on one side is your building block, responsive to culture and identity. Then you have the list of indicators that falls under that building block. And then on the other side is a real quick self-assessment, right? This is meant for you or your staff. It's a fun way to do it, to just quickly check off, like, yeah, I'm doing it, not doing it, we're trying to do it, right? And some evidence for you to know where you fall. We don't have a way to come into your programs and judge this for you at this time. So this is meant for you to do really quickly. If you don't have a book and you would like a book, unfortunately, in the current circumstances, I cannot mail one to you. We do have them available and printed, pre-printed, and maybe in a few weeks I can mail one to you, but currently they're locked up in our office. So you can find them on our website though. And you can go to idahoouofschool.org. You're going to click on the quality heading and then click building blocks. It's the very first thing at the top is to download this book for yourself. You can download it as much as you want. It is totally free. Use it, abuse it, print a new one, doesn't matter. You are welcome to have one. And if you do want a pre-printed one, contact me and I'll put it on the list and I will try to get one to you. Okay. So another poll, just put this in the chat. Just curious what you do currently in your organization. You either design youth programs, maybe you deliver youth programs, you're doing a bit of both, or again, you're just here to listen and that's totally valid. And I'm betting from most of you responding A and B in that first poll that you're probably going to fall under C, but I know a few of you might be an A. Polls are just a way for me to get water. Just kidding. As I figured, most of you are landing in that C category of you both deliver and you design. And I'm sorry to all of you who answer this poll every time, but I have new people every time and I want to know where you guys are at. What you guys do. Maybe your role has changed. Awesome. All right, well, let's get into the meat of it, right? That's what you're here for. So what does this mean, responsiveness to culture and identity? So the standard is defined as quality programs create a safe and adaptive environment which recognizes that culture, family, and personal history is core to a young person's identity formation. Program is respectful and responsive to the diversity of program participants, their families, and community. Right, so that is the standard under the building block of responsiveness to culture and identity. So what is culture? You probably get this question the most. What do you mean? Right, culture is multiple components, right, of one's identity. It's your race, economic background, your gender, your language, your sexual orientation, your nationality, your religion, and your abilities, right? It's not one thing, and it's certainly not just what you eat, listen to, and music, and your holidays, right? That is not what makes a culture. It's part of what makes a culture, but it's not someone's culture. It has to include what people value, their forms of expression, and the ways that they think. Right? All of that falls under culture and identity. Right? Your guys' programs are a meeting point of cultures. I cannot think of any program that has like all of the exact same kids, right? It's just not going to happen. Even if you only had kids that all grew up in the same town, they all have different families. They probably have somewhat different religions, right? They're not the same people. They're not going to have the same cultures. And your program community, right, is also representative of multiple cultures. If you are not programming to your program and your community's culture, bias can take hold, and then you start blaming students for failure that may not be on them, right? It's a cultural difference or something is happening, and you have to be aware of that. I'm sorry, I am super parched. So why should your program focus on culture and identity, right? Program leaders and staff need to make time to inspect their own personal bias, what you are bringing into the program, right? And then you can design learning experiences that cultivate the engagement and curiosity of culturally, linguistically, and racially diverse students. If you carry in bias, that makes it really difficult to engage other kids in those other cultures. So you just have to be aware. Everyone comes with bias, everyone. So you just have to be aware of it and do your best to explore that and bring in other cultures, right? Because research tells us that culturally responsive practice promotes social, emotional, and academic development in all students, right? Your program is better, it's stronger, and it's reflective of your community, right? When it's reflective of your community, you want that, yeah. Right, it'll work better and your quality will improve, which is why we're here, right? I'm sorry, I'm struggling with my camera. Well, it is what it is. So we're gonna do another quick poll. I'm just curious, kind of like why you're here. What, if anything, is your program kind of struggling with when it comes to culture and identity? Are you struggling with hiring diverse staff? Maybe it's honoring and welcoming diverse youth, creating those intentional opportunities for youth to explore culture and identity. Maybe it's training your staff on culture and identity, or something else, or you're fine and you're just wanting to listen in, and that's a valid answer as well. So I'm just kind of curious why you're here. Creating those opportunities, all right. It's okay if you have to think about this one. I would suspect in Idaho, hiring diverse staff could be one of the problems we have. That's fine. Okay. Some training, okay. Most of you are following in that, creating intentional opportunities and then having some honoring or training that you would like to talk about maybe. And we'll try to touch on those topics for you guys. So the first indicator is that program cultivates an inclusive, welcoming, and respectful environment. In this first slide, I'm going to kind of list a bunch of questions for you to think about. And remember that this slide will be available for you guys to look at. I'm hoping to have it up tomorrow, worst case Monday, but we've been doing pretty good turning it around in a day. So I want you to consider yourself and your program and think about, does how you teach acknowledge the experiences of the students from different backgrounds? Is your approach non-stereotypical? But what I mean by that is kind of what we talked about a minute ago when we talked about culture, not just being celebrations or foods, but that you're thinking wholly about the kids. Do you encourage alternative perspectives, debate ideas respectfully, and create an environment which is open to representation to different viewpoints, right? And this one can be hard because opening things for debate and having people be honest and truthful in their feelings can be a spot where people get stuck. But to be truly respectful of different diversities and identities, this has to be something that you incorporate into your daily programming. And it's one that I say, have a plan for people to disagree, right? When you're looking at behavior, make that plan, for how people disagree, right? And what they're supposed to do so that it remains respectful and honest and open, and you can do that. Are the youth in your program treated as individuals, encouraged to share their own lives and interests? And then have you thought about your own consciousness or unconscious biases from people from other cultures? And do you have, and you have to be really brutally honest with yourself, do you have different expectations of students of color than you do from white students, or male from female, or students from the LGBTQ community, right? And whether it's favorable to one or the other, and it can go either way, and just looking at how you treat them, right? So how do you kind of do that? So taking a community approach to learning and teaching, you know, inclusive values are developed through the way they live and their experiences and their exposure to other cultures and worldviews. And so if you have a program where you can expose kids to other cultures and other worldviews, then that's helping everyone, right? Easiest way to kind of do this is bringing your community into your program and taking your program back out to the community. There's no reason that you're in charge of teaching belly dancing, right? There are people that are better at that, that's their life and their culture, and they should be coming into your program to teach belly dancing. Or you can take them, your kids, to go learn about belly dancing. We have a fantastic bass community in Boise that will come to you. You know, you can go to them, right? If you want to learn about a new food, have an expert in that food come to your classroom and teach, right? So that they get this really authentic person that is doing this. Don't put that responsibility on yourself, you know, right? Like, have your community come to you. And if you can't, bring you to the community, right? If you can, as much as possible, create a supportive peer culture inside and outside of your classroom. They should be supporting and trusting and empowering youth to respect and trust each other, because then they can share that culture, right? Reinforce positive and pro-social attitudes by encouraging youth to help each other. Asking someone who's different than you for help and receiving help from someone that's different from you is extremely powerful, right? That representation matters. You maintain high expectations for all of your students. This is not the excuse for things to badly happen in your program, right? You have to feel that you have faith in their abilities and that you will not just focus on their inabilities, right? Everyone has the power and the capability to meet high expectations, and you can meet them where they're at and still have high expectations in your program. Is that hopefully making sense? I hope so. Creating an inclusive environment will not only help youth with differences, right? It supports everyone, right? They are more aware and they become more tolerant and more understanding the more open your program is. Most of this, you guys are probably like, yes, totally understand, and I'm doing it. If there's anything that's catching you, please just let me know. So indicator B is that program creates policies to ensure a safe atmosphere for children and youth to explore their own identity, including cultural beliefs and practices. So if possible, work with your local schools, right? See if you can gather data, not personal student information, but just data on how many kids are taking advanced courses, discipline data, ethnicity, gender, LGBTQ status, family income, disability, and again, not personal information on these students, but just looking at your district or the schools that you're in, because then you can identify those areas for improvement, right? And you can identify that future professional development need. Because if you have a bunch of staff that are not as aware of neurodiverse needs, but you have a high student population of neurodiverse needs, then that's an area that you might need more training or professional development, right? I'm sorry, guys. Of course, the second I start talking, frog in my throat. Create that student advisory council, right? I'm a part. And if you don't know how to listen to youth voice, go back to building block 3 and check out youth voice leadership and engagement, right? And will help. If you have strong youth voice leadership and engagement in your program, you are naturally going to have a more diverse group and voices in your program, right? And you have to have youth voice when you're making decisions and policies and procedures in your program. And if that group is diverse, you will naturally have a more open program, right?
Okay.
And building block 3 is recorded. You can go watch that anytime you want. And it's also, you can download it in the guide. We're gonna continue on this. Your policy should be written in your parent books and your staff handbooks. Should be open and visible to anyone who goes looking for it. I have you probably do not want me to read these statements. They are available on these slides, right? But I do have a parent handbook inclusion statement. And these are going to be somewhat similar, right? In just that you've written down that you are doing these things, that you are welcome, that kids are welcome, that you're going to do your best to find materials and build your environments to reflect your diversity, that you're open to working with students with IEPs, right? And you can assist parents in helping them find resources, right? And you must, and if you don't, you should, in your staff handbook, should be an inclusion statement, right? That you are not discriminating against any employee, right? Again, this is a long inclusion statement. I will have this available for you guys so that you can double check your staff handbooks and your parent handbooks. Just know that you do need to have policies written and procedures written, and they have to be written down somewhere and available. It keeps you accountable, right? For time though, I'm not gonna read it. Here's the meat, right? Indicators C, D, and F. Youth are encouraged to be their whole selves, honoring their culture, sense of self, and their life experiences. Youth have intentional opportunities to explore, share, and celebrate each other's heritages and cultures in their program. And staff meet youth where they're at and are responsive to individual youth needs, recognizing their special interests, feelings, abilities, and cultures. Young people's cultures are recognized and understood. So this is where a lot of you said you were having probably the most trouble. Back earlier when I said, bring your community to you or go out to your community, this is along that same line. I want you in your head to change your role in this program from instructor to facilitator when it comes to culture and identity. You can't teach anyone their culture, and you can't teach someone about somebody else's culture, right? So your job is to be a facilitator and let others teach about culture and identity and help your students to be open about their culture and identity. Is that making sense, that statement right there? Because it's hard, because I know for a long time, and probably a lot of you are my age or older, and in that, like, we had, you know, Kwanzaa Day at school, and that was our culture, right? And then, right, so we want to take a step back from that model and become a facilitator and let others explain their own cultures and needs and identities. This is also a hard one, and if you need help in this area, I have a behavior training that might be helpful for you. But you have to reduce the power differential between you and your staff and youth, right? If you're coming in high power, I'm in charge, you are just youth, You don't get to say, right, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know. You're immediately going to find that students have a hard time being open and trusting and honest with you. So sorry, guys. Woo. Express general interest in the backgrounds of the youth participating in your program, right? That sounds really easy. Sometimes isn't, but you have to genuinely want your students to share, right? And that's that power differential. You got to reduce kind of what's about you and increase what's about them. They should be able to research and share information about their backgrounds as a mean of fostering trust in those relationships, not just with you as a staff, but with each other, right? Analyze differences, celebrate traditions and beliefs, and those social behaviors that might be different from the norm, right? They should be able to celebrate that openly in your program. And this is key. And I cannot stress this enough. This seems like the most simplest thing, makes a huge impact. You have to learn the proper pronunciation of your students' names. And it can't be a joke. This is my serious face. It can't be a joke. It can't be like, oh, I'll get it one day. I'm so sorry. That's defeating. Defeating. Right? Write it on your hand, write it phonetically. Right? If you can learn a celebrity's name, you can learn this kid's name. Right? I know I've been called the wrong thing, and I have a phonetically spelled, my name's Diana, right? And I've still been called the wrong name, or people intentionally call me something else. And it's frustrating. I don't mind, I'm an adult, but to a kid, it's heartbreaking. It doesn't seem like you care. And so hopefully there's like just a couple of really, these are hopefully just learn your kids' names. We go over that and behavior as well. Learn your kids' names correctly. Learn their families' names. Express interest in them. Encourage them to explore their cultures and their identities and to share with others, right? And you will naturally build a lot of this in. It seems really easy, it kind of is. Right? Be sensitive to language concerns, right? Culturally responsive programs, diverse languages are celebrated, right? And if you can, materials that you provide, if you can provide them in other languages, awesome. Great. Try that, do that as much as possible. Don't force kids to speak English all the time. Right? That's a hard one for, especially for me. I don't speak other languages. And so I want them to speak English so I can bond with them. But that's not a super authentic way to get kids to be open and trusting. Right? Fill your program with as much culturally diverse materials as possible. If you have books, include books with characters and authors from all over the world, and not just all over the world, but from all kinds of backgrounds, right? LGBTQ authors, authors that are in poverty, kids that are in poverty, you know, families that have multiple generations living within them. Right? And if you can, or you have space for bulletin boards and posters and instructional materials that, so if you're teaching reading and you have instructional materials, then those materials need to be inclusive, right? And show as many different possibilities as they can. You've heard the line, representation matters. It truly, truly, truly does, right? And this is a spot you can be really intentional and find things that will meet your community. And this is another opportunity to go out to your community and say, hey, council, right here, what do you have? What can I put in my program, right? And they'll give them to you. They will help you. Right, that representation is just that reminder that everyone belongs in your program. Right. Open a dialogue to understand what parents of different cultures want for their kids is it will be different than what you expect, or possibly different than what you expect, right? Ask the parents what they want for their kids, right? It can be done informally. It can be a note, chat on the phone, email, whatever works best for the families you're working with. And then be really open about what you experience in your culture, right? Because that helps open that doorway for parents. If you're talking to them about why you became a provider, what you did before you were a provider, what you're like as a parent, what your parents were like with you, it gives parents of your youth a doorway, right? If you're being open and honest, then they more likely will be open and honest. This can be a hard one, but if you start with their kids, not like tell me more about yourself, but hey, what are your hopes and dreams for your kids in our program? What can I do to help your child in my program? Sometimes that's an easier door to go through than talking about myself, right? I'll tell you all about my kids. So indicator E, a couple of you said you were maybe struggling with hiring. So program makes a genuine effort to recruit, hire, and develop qualified staff who reflect the diverse race, gender, cultural, sexual orientation, language, and special needs of the young people being served. Whew, this is a hard one, but check the demographics in your program, your local county, your region, and your school districts, right? Census reports, school district reports. West Ada School District is the largest school district in Idaho. It serves over 40,000 students, well, close to 40,000 students. Nearly 10,000 of those live in poverty. So if you're running programming in West Ada, there's a high chance you will have children who are living in poverty, right? I believe something, and Heather, someone can probably correct, I think there's like over 16 languages spoken, maybe closer to like 20 languages spoken within the district. So you're probably going to run into different languages being spoken. Right, so when you're hiring, it's really important to kind of have that information in your pocket, right, of who you're looking for. Make sure your program is including diversity in its mission and goals. And again, that should be public for anyone looking for it. If you're having a trouble writing missions and goals, go back to step 1, intentional program design. We talk about writing intentional missions and goals for your program. And even if your school district or your overarching facility like the Y or has a mission and goals, it's still worthwhile to write some program level mission and goals. Just to make sure that you guys are staying on track, and again, that accountability of what you want to do, and are you doing the things you want to do. Diversity should be in there, right? Should say all kids, all the time. Think about the program you want to build, not just those 1 or 2 spots that you might be hiring for. Where is your program going? What matters to you in the long run? Programs get caught, and this happens all the time, daily, in your short-term need, right? You need someone with functional skill like a program manager, right? And so that's where you're at. You're like, I need this program manager and I need them today, right? But hopefully you can take a minute to consider how that person that you're hiring is going to help your program grow, right? What are you meeting long term with this person that you're hiring? Inclusion and diversity should be part of your program culture. We hire program or people a lot because they came to us, right? They must like us. They came in and applied. But really, you got to look at that. How are we expanding our program and finding people? Not just the ones who like us, but the ones we want to incorporate in. If you can jettison in your program details anything that promotes bias, take it out. Because you might be unintentionally writing a job description that's taking out a lot of really quality people whether that's a specific number of years of experiences or experience years. You have to come from a high profile university, curriculum that may not be available to them where they were at when they're coming in. If you can, put in every job disclaimer or every job description that disclaimer that encourages people to apply, even if they don't exactly match your job description. You can filter them out later, right? Because you're getting, especially right now, you're probably going to get a ton of jobs, people looking for jobs that you're going to be like, no, this doesn't fit at all. But you might be opening the door to someone who's fantastic, who just didn't finish college or just something happened, right? They may have been a stay-at-home mom for the last 5 years, and that's cool. They may have tons of experience. So leave that door open, take out that bias. Make sure that you're not writing to one gender. It's really easy, especially in education jobs, to make it kind of a woman-focused job description, right? And we don't want to do that. You want to open it to everybody. Here, this one's fascinating, and I think if you can do this, if you're not hindered by like government regulations, use a diverse set of interviewers, right? Bring in a parent, bring in a community leader, someone from your board or your steering committee, right? And reconsider how you define diversity. It doesn't just mean gender and race, right? We talked about that all the way at the beginning, right? It can be education background, geography, family status. Neurodiversity is a huge one. There's a lot of discrimination on neurodiversity in finding jobs. That's precluding people with great skills from working, right? Use your social media platforms, because anyone applying is going to check your social media, just like you check theirs, they will check yours. You should have diverse needs and students front and center. Your print material should also reflect diversity as much as possible, right? Partner with those multicultural professional associations and student groups in your area or outside of your area, right? They have, again, there's no reason that the community is not coming to you or you are not going out to the community. They will help. They're there. Recruit from them, ask them for their opinions, put them on your interview board. Shoot, put them on your board, leadership team. Yeah. Indicator G is the program provides all staff with ongoing practical tools and training for cultural competency and promoting professional self-awareness about power, privilege, and equity issues. I think a couple of you said this maybe was your kind of little bit of a problem area for you. That's what I'm here for. So, right, be proactive. All of your staff, everyone on staff should be taking, culturally sensitive training, period. All right, either developed in-house if you're in a large school district, or some of the federally funded programs or the larger national programs, you probably already have this training available to you. If you don't and you would like it, that is what I'm here for. And I can help you with that. I can help find it, or I can create it. Let me know if this is where you're getting stuck, but all staff should take it. But it has to start at the leadership level. It can't be a once in a while, like we're having diversity training and then we do nothing afterwards, right? It can't be like an initiative. It's an everyday, right? Go all the way back. It's got to be in your goals, your mission statement, in your everyday life, right? Hopefully you can diversify your program leadership. And leadership can be more than just like your director. Right? If you have a parent advisory team, if you have a student advisory team, if you have a board of directors, if you have a, I lost my train of thought. All of those is leadership in your program, and they should be diverse. Right? Again, not just gender and racially diverse, but neurodiverse, economics diverse, geography diverse, all the different kinds of diversity identity should be in your leadership teams. Because if it's coming from top down, your program won't have to try to be diverse. It is diverse, right? And when decisions are made, and policies are made, and rules and regulations are made by a diverse group of people, you will almost automatically create solutions that are creative and diversity driven. Encourage dialogue all year round. Remember, like we were saying, it can't just be one-time initiative thing, right? You have to communicate constantly. You have to have a safe place, online, offline, that encourages dialogue and good decision making. If there's questions from staff or management about bias or diversity or inclusion, they have to be welcomed. You can't shut them down. Only way through, right? You have to go through them. You have to create that culture of inclusion. It can't be buzzwords, right? And just the one training. Everyone needs to take training, but then you have to keep doing it. Everyone has to feel welcome. Even if you don't have diverse employees, like it's too late. If we hired a family and they're all the same, right? If there's someone who's different who walks in the door, they have to still feel at home, and you have to incorporate views and cultures, other people's opinions into your programming. That's a hard one. I don't like listening to other people's opinions. Just kidding. But it can be rough, right? Evaluate bias before employment if you can, and then on an ongoing basis, right? It should be part of like internalizing it during the interview process. And then you have to have a zero tolerance policy on racial, gender, or sexual orientation bias, right? Hard stop. Don't pass go. And that's for your staff and for youth, right? You can't be racist, misogynistic, bigoted in your program. Hard stop. Shut it down. And it has to be a policy, and it has to be written, right? And you have to follow through with all staff and all youth on those policies, right? Because if you have clear boundaries and you treat people that way and you shut it down, then you're actually creating a culture of safety and trust for others, right? They're going to know you have their backs. You're going to know that it's not okay to do in program, right? You got to have boundaries. And you have to create a plan. Kind of touched on this earlier, right? You have to appreciate differences, but when emotions get high, and it will when you're talking about diversity and inclusion, when emotion gets high, strategy often goes down, right? And you have to have a really simple plan for complex things, right? That shut down, everyone moves to a different place, whatever it is, whether you take statements, whether you have behavior plans that have to be written. Simple plan for complex problems, because when everyone's emotional, those plans go out the window if it's really hard. And I can help you if you need a plan. And actually, I would say go back to that behavior planning training, or look at the behavior consequence matrix that we have on the website, because there's going to be levels, right? There's going to be junk behavior. She's just a girl, right? That you can throw out or address quickly, up to slurs, racial slurs, bigotry that will have to be addressed seriously, up to threats and illegal activity that you have to shut down and possibly expel, or whatever the consequence is. But if you write those out and your staff's on board, also similar consequences for your staff, right? Get that written out so that you know all together what's junk, what's minor, what's major or illegal behavior. Get that written out. I can point you in the right direction if you want to write those down. Right, and then just create a plan. We just talked about this. We don't want emotion to cause more problems in this case. Oh, All right. California After School Network does this really great series of quality standards in action, and one of their quality standards in California, for my California peeps, is diversity, access, and equity. And so since we have a few minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and show this video because I want you guys to see what this standard looks like in programming. It is a little bit long, and I'm sorry, but I think it's worthwhile. Yeah.
Diversity, access, and equity. Students self-select whether or not they're coming, and by that, we actually end up having a really diverse group of students. So in our programs, you'll see lots of students with special needs. You'll see EL students, and they're working right along with regular ed students. There's no difference because the things that they're doing are collaborative. They are able to work together, and it's not something that requires the same structure that the regular school day is. So they're all work together in the same activity. I love that it provides a safe space on campus, and you get to interact with a lot of students that you normally don't have in any of your classes. So you get to see a lot of the diverse population, and you get to work with them on really amazing projects. Camp's given me a lot of opportunities to learn how to do different things that I might not have been able to do if I'd gone to another school, because I wouldn't have had access to being able to put together a camera in another class, or learning how to do code, because they just don't provide those things. So I think it really helps kids to decide whether they want to go into this subject or not. I tend to get a lot of the outsider fringe students, the one that come in after school or at lunch. They have a safe place that they can go to and feel welcomed, and they have an opportunity to express themselves and to know that their voice is going to be heard. It really starts with making sure that everyone's included. And if you see someone that's by themselves sitting alone or looks like they need a friend, we really focus on having the kids go to that person, make sure that they're involved and included. And we want everyone to feel good. We want people to feel loved at school, and we want to show kindness. And so we're teaching the kids, to look around. Don't just be in a little friendship bubble. Basically, so no one eats alone, just so everyone has a friend to sit next to, and everyone has a friend to talk to. Because this program has exposed me to multiple different races, and I'm comfortable with talking to anyone of any race, any color, any cultural background, anything.
We allow all students into ACES. We have a very long waiting list. We have a portion of students who are academically struggling. We have students with disabilities in here, and we don't care what their disability is, they're part of the program. Additionally, we have some foster youth that are part of the program. So we ensure that anyone that wants to be in the program, that needs the program, is able to access it.
I think our staff reflect what is in the community, so I think that allows parents, not only parents, but I should say students, to feel more comfortable because they see someone that looks like them, or that speaks the same language as they do. So like I said, that really opens up the communication barriers for the parents.
I think that being able to express yourself with other people that aren't like you gives you better opportunities to see not necessarily what it's like in the real world, but to be able to get along better with other people. And you get to kind of just be yourself and just not have to fear that people are going to not like you for it, because they're also being themselves, and you're all together, and it's not a grade. No one's grading you on what you're doing, and you're doing it because you love to do it. You're not there because you have to.
Everybody here told me to learn English, to know new things. Everybody here is amazing. They told me you can be here and you are a person like everybody. Everybody in my group called me to learn and how to participate and how socialize with other persons.
Through the implementation of the Diversity, Access, and Equity Standard, students enter a welcoming and inclusive environment that celebrates all backgrounds. The quality standards are a guide to help you lead your program to its highest quality. Your work in expanded...
We'll stop there. So hopefully that was kind of worth seeing, that it's possible and what it means to students when you take the time to really work on diversity and inclusion. when Anna's the director of the Idaho Out of School Network, when we went around this state about a year and a half ago, we talked with kids and we talked with parents in programming, and it came up over and over again that programming is their safe space. And I think you heard that in this video as well, that school isn't always their safe space. We hope that it is, but it isn't always. And so they come to programming intentionally to see friends, to hang out, and to feel safe and to feel welcomed. And I will stress LGBTQ youth in particular felt safer in programming. And so I just want you to be aware that it makes a massive impact in these kids' lives. They want this, and this is where they need to be. So we have like 5 minutes, so I'll quickly, so resources online, if you go to our website, idahooutofschool.org, there's a building block resource page. I'm not gonna go show it to you right now, we don't have a ton of time. Or if you want the quality tab at the top, same place that you can get the guides, you can also find resources there. And we break them all down by building blocks, so if you want them specifically for culture and identity, you can go to the Block 5 tab. And there's guides and handbooks and further training. It is still growing, and we're working on adding Y for Y resources for my 21st century guys. But I would love more than anything to create a more shared resource page. So if there's something that you see that is like, this is an awesome resource, send it my way, and we will get it up on this site for you guys. Oh yes, yes, I will find the link for you, Dalila, and I will send it out when I send out the slides. I will email you all, anyone who registered, with the link to the video and the slides, and I will try to remember to include that link. But it is in the, let's see if it's on, if I included it. Oh, of course, it makes me want to go all the way back. Oh, I didn't include the link, but it is the California After School Network, and it's called Quality Standards in Action, and then this one is Diversity, Access, and Equity. But I will find the link and try to send it to you. Definitely. So in case you're interested in learning more about building blocks, next month in May, we're doing community, school, and family engagement. We hear this a lot, that this is a sticky point for a lot of programs, right? They can't get family engaged, the schools won't talk to them. And so we will try to chat about this next month, May 28th at 10 a.m. You can register from our website. And oh, thanks, Jody. And so, yeah, I can stay on if anyone has questions. I know after our behavior training, I stayed on for probably about half an hour talking to anyone who had questions or concerns. You can get me through, I'm working from home, so you can get me pretty much any time, night or day. Just email me and we can set up a time for TA or to talk, or if you want more information or need help with something, please let me know. That's why I am here. Otherwise, we are ending right on time. Whew, got through it. But I'm open and here and ready for discussion or questions or anything that you kind of got stuck on where you're like, oh, that didn't make sense, or you know, please let me know.
Diana, this is Karen. I have a quick question for you.
Absolutely.
So this is kind of specific, but I'm thinking of those programs that do have wait lists.
Yes.
And I know everybody does it different, and I'm thinking of school-based sites that some of them recruit students through their academics or teacher referral or a variety of different indicators.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any programs, or have you spoken with any, that try to recruit students or participants based on different diversity factors? And if there is there a recommended process? I feel like sometimes the first come, first serve can be a barrier, especially for families with language barriers and that type of thing, but I'm not sure what the best practice for that is.
Yeah, I don't have a specific one currently in mind. I know that programming absolutely goes out and recruits. I would say for any program that has a waiting list, if they would like to start taking students not first come, first serve, to create a rubric that you can use for everyone. That way you're not showing any potential, like, everyone scored on this rubric, and you know, if kids move to the top because they're low income, or they move to the top because they're part of a certain social group, or teacher referral gives them an extra boost, that's fine, as long as it's written and it's for, you score every student coming in on that rubric and then start picking them up, kind of like you would for competitive scholarships or grants. They can use that same process to move kids through their waiting list. And I just wrote that down, that I will try to find an example of that for you guys. But yes, you can recruit, but make sure that as long as, if you're recruiting, that if you have a wait list that includes other kids, that you are intentional in how you're taking kids off the waiting list, if you're not going to take them off in order of how they applied.
Sure. Okay.
Does that make sense? Does that help at all? Or you're like, no?
No, no, it's a great, yeah, it's a great point, that you don't want to eliminate students or remove their access and attempt to have a more diverse program, you know, and you don't want to just hand select kids based on your own feelings about it, like your own impressions of diversity. Because
that's where it just removes that bias. I mean, you can hand select students, but then you just need to make sure that you know, and that the program knows that that is how you are doing it.
Sure.
And why.
Thank you.
I see a couple people on. Does anyone else have more questions? Hi, Emma. Thanks, guys. I'll hang as long as you guys hang. So I'm going to ask Lori, Jody, and Dalila, did you have questions, or did you just forget you're on? All right, good. It's just, I don't want to cancel out on anyone if you guys were.
I just haven't gotten off yet, but thank you.
All right, just checking. Didn't want to cancel anyone out if you were like, I have questions.
That's so nice of you. Have a great day.
You too, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.